I made scientific magic chapter 6. This is my last magic trick. Chapter 6. This is my last magic. Such a character is just a witch hunter. Also used to capture a weak wizard apprentice like himself. Lin En is a bit unbelievable, but the reality is not the arena of fighting skills, and you will not be matched with opponents of comparable strength. There is no point in begging for mercy and admitting defeat. Blade of Ice. Lin En pointed his left hand straight at Blaney, and he became more and more comfortable using the water condensation technique. In an instant, another ice blade appeared in the void. But within the reach of mental power, the originally scarce hydrogen gas has been exhausted, and the ice blades produced cannot pose a sufficient threat to the enemy at all. Lin En is very aware of this, but there is no way to change it, and a strong desire surges in his heart. He needs more hydrogen and oxygen. The moment this idea came out, Lin En felt as if his brain had been hit hard by someone, as if being stabbed by countless silver needles, and then the magic power in his body was consumed rapidly, transforming into a large amount of hydrogen and oxygen element. At the same time, a strange rune was deeply imprinted in his mind. One ring of high-level magic, multiple ice blades. In just 1 second, several sharp ice blades appeared in front of him, scattered like a rain of arrows. Lin's sudden outburst exceeded Blaney's expectations. In a hurry, the long sword turned from offense to defense. Even though the reaction was extremely quick, there was still a ice blade piercing through the protection of the long sword and piercing into the abdomen. Blaney immediately felt a bone-piercing cold, and crystal-clear ice crystals were rapidly spreading up his abdomen. Knowing very well that the magic was weird, Blaney didn't dare to neglect in the slightest. Holding the ice blade in his right hand, he pulled it out with all his might. Due to the special structure of ice blade, the barbs were firmly embedded in the flesh, and when it was forcibly pulled out, red blood gushed out immediately. The severe pain made Blaney tremble uncontrollably. The wound on his abdomen was asterisk and bloody. What was even more dangerous was that the cold was spreading rapidly, and he lost consciousness at the wound in an instant. However, Blaney's fierceness exceeded Lin's expectations. After realizing that the wound on his abdomen would affect the next battle, he grabbed the flame-burning cabinet door handle and pressed it straight to his abdomen. Blaney's veins popped out, and he couldn't stop roaring. Bursts of light smoke came out from the contact point, the fuzzy flesh and blood were almost half-cooked, no blood flowed out. And the piercing chill disappeared without a trace with the baking of the flame. Seeing this terrifying scene, Lin was startled. Whether it was Blaney's ruthless use of his companion's corpse to block the knife, or relying on fire to stop the bleeding, he understood that this is definitely not an easy character to deal with. Taking advantage of Blaney's distraction, Lin broke open the door without hesitation and fled out. He lost the dagger for protection, and he had no chance of winning in the narrow room. Blaney glanced at Andre's charred body, and chased after him with the long sword clenched in his right hand. Ellipsis. In the evening, in the slums outside Nordland, 2 figures chased and fled, walking through the narrow and dilapidated streets. At this time, the sky was getting darker and darker, and one after another, ice blade, roared past, hitting the ground and the wall in a random manner. Every time he casts a spell, Lin's brain will feel a stabbing pain, but this time Lin can't take care of it anymore. Once he stops casting the spell, the opponent will rush forward and stab his head with a sword. In contrast, Blaney, who was chasing behind, seemed to be able to do a job with ease. His sharp eyes caught the flying ice blades, and he flew to dodge from time to time, keeping a close distance and hanging behind Lin. Blaney is so careful. After all, the cunning of this wizard apprentice is rare in his life. Whether it is the misleading notes in the room, the sudden burst of ice blade and fireball that injures him, or showing the enemy even the weird witchcraft that killed Andre left a deep impression on him. So even if the opponent seemed to be exhausted, Blaney didn't dare to shoot rashly, just like the most patient hunter, consuming Lin's strength bit by bit until the prey fell down and died. After chasing and fleeing like this, the two of them were getting farther and farther away from the city, and an unpleasant stench permeated the surrounding area. It was only then that Blaney realized that Lin had fled to the lower city in a panic, which had been abandoned for many years. The entire Nordland territory is low in the south and high in the north, and the main city is built on the banks of the Yin River in the north. More than 10 years ago, the Duke of Nordland, who returned from the Holy City, was dissatisfied with the disorganized and smelly appearance of the main city. So he ordered the craftsmen to dig a small canal to discharge all the artificial waste in the main city to the lower reaches of the Yin River. This will suffer for those poor people who live in the lower city and rely on the Han River for water. However, the Duke of Nordland didn't care about the life and death of these untouchables, so the entire lower city gradually fell into disrepair over time. And only a very small number of scavengers would choose to stay in this place. Blaney couldn't help worrying that there were other wizard apprentices hiding here. Just when he was determined to make a quick decision, Lin, who had been running away, suddenly stopped in a high and low alleyway. The concentration should be enough. Lin En confirmed it one last time. The strange runes in his mind were instantly activated, and a total of 7 ice blades emerged out of thin air, shining brightly in the afterglow of the setting sun, forcibly converting a large amount of magic power into hydrogen and oxygen. The accompanying sequelae became more and more serious. Lin felt that his brain was about to explode. The magic power has been squeezed to the limit. This is his last magic. The next moment, these ice blades automatically divided into 2 groups, shooting irregularly and directly, blocking all of Blaine's evasion routes. Blaney's complexion became a little dignified, and he looked straight at him. With such a large number, even he can't completely block it, but if he fights hard and gets injured. Fortunately, these ice blades seem to have lost their aim. Most of them just passed by, and only 3 were facing me. The battle of trapped beasts. Blaney's face showed a trace of mockery. During the previous pursuit, he found that Lin's spell was not really created out of nothing, at least it had a huge loss of spirit. Obviously the other party has reached the limit. The corners of Blaney's mouth curled up slightly, and the long sword slashed accurately one by one on the attacking ice blade. But he failed to notice a red ball mixed in the ice blade and flew toward him. Choke tilde the blade collided with the ball, creating brilliant sparks. The weird and different shock sensation made Blaney stunned for a moment, and then realized that what he hit was a flint. P.S. I want all kinds of new books, and there are 2 updates every day. The update,